Hi, my name is Natalie Owens, and welcome to Buy Black and Bookish, a booktube channel where a bi black girl tried 3 hours last night to do her own hair, which is why this looks like a mess. But anyway, it's now near the end of February, so it's now time for my wrap up and also update on my writing goals. So first we're going to start with my writing goals and what I've accomplished this month. So this month I said I'll write 5 poems, which I did do. So I said I'll also finish editing my script, which is partially true. When I edit, I usually write it. I printed out the script and then I usually write on it to edit it. I did finish that, but I didn't finish typing it out. So maybe I'll be able to finish it before the month ends, but who knows? So that's like a partial truth. And I also said I'll write 4K words of my monster erotica novella, which I did not do. I absolutely failed to do that. I wrote a sentence and then I stopped. So there's that. Maybe next month, because my goal for the novella is to write 10K words. So maybe next month I can try to do 5K words since I'm done editing the script. And really, I just want to send it off to some people to read it and comment on it. So I'll have time to write that. And then in April, I'll write the other half. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. And that's it for my writing goals. So like I said, next month, I'll send out the rough draft. Right now, it's in rough draft. But once I finish typing all my edits, it's going to enter rough draft mode. So I'm going to try to send it out to some friends and maybe some people in my writing group who might be willing to read through it. And then after that, I can start maybe approaching final draft mode. But I know it's going to take maybe some time for people to read through it because they have lives and projects of their own. So I'm expecting that to take 1-2 months. And so I guess I'll just focus on the novella, try to finish that, and enter rough draft for that. And what else? And then, of course, the typical goal of writing a poem a week. And so hopefully, yeah, those are my goals for March. And now it's on to my reading wrap up. I guess I will start with comics. There's not as much comics as it was in January because January was really my catch-up month for all the comics I've had that I hadn't read. So let's start with Batman Incorporated issue 5, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5. This is the end of the No More Teachers story arc, and as it turns out, Ghostmaker didn't really purposely cast aside Phantom One, who's the guy who's been was trying to hunt him down and kill him in the previous issue. In the end, Ghostmaker showed his slight character development, because when it came to Ghostmaker and Phantom One going one-on-one, he spared Phantom One because he promised Batman, his boo, that he would not kill anymore, even though he still kind of thinks it's bullshit, but he's willing to give it a shot for his man. His man. So that's the end of the No More Teachers arc. So yeah, I might stop collecting it after this simply because there's so many other comics I'm collecting. And this was a nice little story arc, but I don't think I want to continue. Next is Batman issue 132, which I gave a 4 out of 5. As you know from the last issue, Batman is in an alternate universe where he is presumed dead, where this Bruce Wayne is presumed dead, and with the help of a young woman called Jewel, he gets into a gala where he's hoping to meet a man called Halliday that may help him get home. Instead, he comes across this universe's Selina, who is trying to kill him. And I love this Batman because he himself is recognizing he's getting old and getting kind of like, and with old age kind of comes a sense of like sentimentality, because there's a panel where he goes, I just want to go home. I miss my sons. I'm like, that's so cute. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I love it when and also there's a mini story at the end featuring Tim Drake and his obsession with trying to find Batman, because once again he's trying to convince everyone he's not actually dead. He's lost in time or in an alternate universe or something like that. So now it's just Tim Drake's journey on trying to find Batman. Very much like his Red Robin run after Batman was presumed dead and the death in the cow stuff happened. Next is Poison Ivy number 9, which I gave a 4 out of 5. And this is the Harl Ivy issue because Harley goes out, shows up after like getting all Ivy's letters, because the kind of like the frame narrative of this entire thing is that Ivy is writing letters to send to Harvey. Not Harvey. Ivy's writing letters to send to Harley, and kind of every now and then just goes, I miss you so much. I love you so much. And so Harley finally arrives and they like, you know, have a cute little date. And then Poison Ivy shows Harley the green, kind of like what she sees, and they just continue on their little date. And Harley tries to convince Ivy to come home with her, but Ivy's like, I still have work to do. And so for now they go their separate ways. But at the end, Ivy's like, you'll always be home to me, and I promise you I'll go back to you. And I'm like, I love these lesbians so much. Then there's Daredevil issue 8, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5. Matt and Elektra in the Fist duke it out with Frank Castle in the Hand. They lose, but Matt rides on a dragon, so I count that as a W. That was a pretty cool, it was like a splash page. Let me see if I can find it. There he is in the rain, flying up on a fucking dragon. I thought that was pretty cool. And it ends with the Avengers, being the narcs that they are, is out to get Matt for the whole prison break situation. And also Matt is like hardcore, really like, this is God's will. And he just really reminds me of Azrael. I think if there's like ever another Marvel DC fusion thing like they did, I think it was in the 90s. But if they ever do that again, I really want Daredevil and Azrael to meet up. They can just bond on their, like, I don't know, Catholic trauma. Then there's also Wakanda issue 5, which is the last one in this like Black Panther anthology. And it's also probably my favorite one because it's centered around Okoye. Is that how to pronounce her name? Okoye. And as always, she's like a cold-blooded killer. She will and has killed for her people, and I respect that. The last comic issue I read this month is Batman Legends of Gotham, which I gave a 3 out of 5. And as you can tell, it features my man, Jason Todd. And you know I would read anything that has Red Hood in it, even if it's mediocre at best, like Red Hood and the Outlaws, the original, the first volume. The second volume with Artemis and Bizarro was pretty good, and I stand by it. But I gotta admit, the one with Roy and Starfire wasn't great. But once again, nothing but disrespect for my boy. I don't know why the hero community assumes the worst of him each and every time, especially since every time it seems like he's genuinely trying to do good, even in his own special way. His motivation here is wanting to avenge Alfred because that's his granddaddy, and he's a granddaddy's boy. And then also it's building up to some new storyline with Talia as the villain, which is so original, so groundbreaking. I am, of course, being sarcastic. they need to respect my woman. And that's the end of my comics that I read this month. Any cool comics you read this month, Natalie?
I read the latest issue of of Deadpool. And that was really good. That's the one I showed you with I guess Carnage kind of coming to life in Deadpool's body and just kind of reacting to the hot new romantic interest.
So yeah, in the new Deadpool series, Deadpool has a new love interest who's like this non-binary baddie, and they're just really beautiful. Actually, I think Deadpool's so valid for falling in love with them first sight, because that would be me too. They're beautiful. So yeah, anything else?
No, I think that's the only thing that really stood out to me.
Okay. So now I am on to books I read this month. So this month, if you didn't know, was Black History Month. And also, how could you not know that? So there was like this challenge in BookTube community called Blackathon, where you join a certain team and then you read books that fit the prompt of that team. I'm kind of doing it as in I read the books. I didn't really communicate with anyone because I have social anxiety. So I joined Team Granny Nanny, which is named after Nanny of the Maroons, an infamous leader of the Maroon War. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Maroon. Maroon, yeah. So the first writing prompt was a charming protagonist who is spiritual or has fantastical abilities. So I read Skin of the Sea and also The Taking of Jack Livingston, which only... And The Taking of Jake Livingston. I always confuse Jake and Jack together. I don't know why. They should honestly be the same. So I am only partially through The Taking of Jake Livingston, and he only very loosely fits the prompt because I do not think he's all that likable. But the protagonist for Skin of the Sea, she was a nice girl. Skin of the Sea is about a teen girl blessed by Yumo Jazz and becomes a Mami Wata, which is like a mermaid who collects souls tossed out of slave ships. The girl Simi breaks protocol when she saves a boy from drowning and reveals herself, which is forbidden. So together they go on a journey to return him to his village and also to beg for forgiveness from the Supreme Creator. But of course they end up falling in love, and it's basically the Little Mermaid combined with Yoruba mythology. And it doesn't really pick up until the middle, and there are parts where Simi didn't really feel like the main character because she felt very, not passive, because she did do things to move the plot forward. She just felt like at certain times that she wasn't really contributing to the narrative. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Which is why I gave it a 3 out of 5 over. And so far, I'm not sure how I feel about this book. Like I said, I'm really only like 32 pages in. So we'll see how I feel about it once I'm done. For the second plot, it was a protagonist who is mixed or an immigrant. So I read something that's been in my TBR for, I don't know, 8 years, and called American Street, which I got from the library, which is why I don't have it anymore. But I ended up giving American Street a 2 out of 5. I was so close to not finishing it because I just found most of the characters kind of annoying, and I just didn't really get everything that was happening. So Fabiola illegally immigrates from Haiti to Detroit, USA with her mother, but her mom gets detained as Fabiola arrives alone to live with her aunt and her cousins. And I really, really wanted to like this book, but it just had too much going on, and I hated the characters, as I said before, and I couldn't get a good read on Fabiola's character, because at one point she was like this good girl who just wanted to do her mom proud, and then the next moment she talked about like, oh, I do like hardcore drugs or whatever. I'm like a bad girl, and I'm like, I don't really get you. And also the romance between her and this boy who is deaf older than 18, and she's like, I want to say 16. That romance did nothing for me. It happened really suddenly, and it just, I didn't really see the connection between them. And also there's like this addition of magic realism, which didn't really add much to the plot. And I think it's already like my least favorite book of the year. So sorry, American Street. The third prompt is a book set in Jamaica or an island, and I read August Town, which I also got from the library, and that was really good. That was a magic realism done right. So August Town is a magic realism story set in Jamaica and tells interconnected stories of a bunch of different, whole big cast of characters, and it builds up to this disastrous moment known as the auto collapse. And I just loved the writing and the characters. I really, really loved this book. So I give it a 5 out of 5, and I think it's one of my favorite books of the year. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think about it?
I really enjoyed it too. I liked the way it was written. It was just very well captivating, and I really did like how all the characters ended up entwining with each other, and how the stories all kind of led into each other. Because at the beginning I was really confused, but I got a hang of it. It was really good too.
Yeah. I really like magic realism, but I don't think everyone can pull off magic realism, obviously, based on American Streets. So for the fourth book, it was a book centering a tight-knit group of friends or unlikely allies. So at the beginning of the month, I finished Children of Blood and Bones, which I will be doing a more in-depth video of. And I really loved, without getting into like spoilers, I really loved everything about it. Like the characters, the world building, the magic system that was going on, and the core characters, which is Zile, I think that's how to pronounce her name, Tizin, maybe. Zile, Tizin, her brother, and Amari, who is the princess of the of Orisha. They form a really tight bond, in my opinion. I just really loved their friendship. They like really, despite the difference between the siblings and Amari, they really bond together and look out for each other. And so it's like, hey, the second book will also follow the prompt, right? No, these kids turn on each other almost instantly, and I don't know, I just didn't really like it as much as I liked the first one, mainly because of how the relationships broke down. And I get that it's realistic, but I don't know, I want these kids to be happy. It is very much inspired by the Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you get that sense more in the first book than in the second book, mainly because the appeal of both Avatar: The Last Airbender in this book is just like the tight knit relationships between like the characters and how they just really look out for each other. But you just don't really get that sense in this one, which is why I gave this one a 3 out of 5, and I gave this one, I believe, a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, a 4.5 out of 5. My only beef is that it's very clear that the writer's a Zutara shipper. And I'm sorry to all the Zutara shippers out there and the one right in front of me, but I don't like them, and also I just don't like enemies to lovers in general. It doesn't make sense to me, especially since in this book, the Zuko-esque character and the Katara-esque character, which is Zila and what was the boy's name? Anon. All their interactions before like their falling in love scene has been mostly negative. They like, no joke, wanted to kill each other for a majority of the book. I'm like, how can you decide from those interactions that you love each other? Doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, look out for my more in-depth video of this. Probably, I think it's supposed to be March 15th, somewhere around there. The group book for Teen Granny Nanny was Riot Baby, and I listened to the audio book like a year ago, and I ended up getting it 3 out of 5 stars because I guess it's because I listened to it as an audiobook. It just made certain things harder to follow. I just didn't really get the plot that much. So I rented it from the library, and I tried to read it again as a physical copy. But once again, I just couldn't really get into it. So yeah, it's about a brother and a sister, both with supernatural abilities. But while the sister leaves because of losing control of her power, the brother gets incarcerated. And it ends with Ella, the sister, showing Kevin, the brother, a promise of revolution against the racist injustice in the world. The last part so it's separated in parts based on, I guess, where the Kevin is. And the last part I do think is the best out of it. It's more interesting, and I do wish the novella was more about that. But I wasn't a fan of the shifting between the first and third point of view, because the brother was in first point of view, but the sister was in third point of view. And I guess I couldn't tell the reason why the author did that. And yeah, but I did end up liking it slightly better than when I listened to his audiobook, but I still gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So that's everything I read for Blackathon. Now it's time for me to quickly spit out everything I've read this month in general, which is a bit longer. So I read Catch These Hands, Volume 1. It's a cute GL manga about 2 women who used to be rival delinquents reconnecting in adulthood. One of the women declares that she always liked the other and convinces her to start dating, even though the other claims that she has no feelings for her whatsoever. I wasn't a big fan of the art style. I do not like it when in manga the female characters, or any of the characters really, don't have noses. That's my biggest beef. Another book I read, which was an audiobook, was A Prince on Paper. I gave this out 4 out of 5 stars, and it's about a young woman who's the cousin of the queen, and the stepson of a king fake a relationship because of course they do, and then they of course end up sleeping together and catching feelings. It was cute and sexy, and it had cute and sexy scenes. And kind of had like this good girl / bad girl. They're not both girls. It had this kind of like cute good girl / bad boy thing going on. I don't know. It was a nice romance novel to listen to while you're playing My Time at Sandrock. I also read Take a Hint, Danny Brown, another romance audiobook, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars as well. For a romance book, if it's decent and I like the couple, you're almost always going to get 4 out of 5 stars from me. So Take a Hint, Danny Brown is about Danny, a known anti-romantic, only sexual relationship, finds herself in a fake relationship with Zaf, an ex-rugby player and die-hard romantic, to help his side business. And then they eventually become a sexual relationship, because of course it does, and then they end up actually falling for each other. I do like a female character that is experienced and not romantic, when usually it's the male lead who's kind of like that. And I liked it a bit more than the first book in this series, whose name escapes me. It's like, I can't remember what the first one's called. But the series is about the Brown sisters, because there's 3 of them and they each have their own book. Right now I'm listening to the 3rd one, which is Act Your Age, Eve Brown. And then I listened to the audiobook for Hunger, a memoir of my body by Roxane Gay, which I also gave 5 out of 5 stars, and is also one of my favorite books so far this year. And I just really loved this memoir. It's about her living while being like really obese, and she talks about how she experienced sexual assault and started overeating in order to kind of create a barrier between like herself and the outside world. And I don't know, I could just really relate to some of the experience that Gay describes, like the fear of being judged by like fit people while working out, or like dealing with the family's good intentions when it comes to like dealing with her weight. And I highly recommend it. I also read the poetry book The Madman by Khalil Gibran, which I give 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a collection of poems that is more like little philosophical fables, and some of them were a little too long and some of them were a little too short to work for me, but for the most part I do like Khalil Gibran's poetry. I especially really like The Prophet. And then I also read another poetry book called Absolute Trust in the Goodness of the Earth by Alice Walker, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. Some of the poems felt like it was either missing some parts or unfinished, but there were some standout poems like One of the Traps and A Native Person Looks Up from the Plate. I do prefer Walker's prose to her poetry, but if you're a fan of Alice Walker, I would suggest maybe looking into this. And that's everything I read this month. Anything else? Anything you read this month that you want to share?
I read Gear Breakers, and that was really good, which is like the Gundam book fantasy one.
Yeah, I really want to read that.
It's
I had to
really
add that to my
good.
want to read.
Yeah.
Next time we go to the library, I'll get
the
that.
romance occurred a little too fast, but I love mechas, so I don't care.
Mechs make up for a lot of things. Okay, real quick, I'm kind of gonna go over what I plan to read for March. I'm gonna read "Tell My Horse" by Zora Neale Hurston, which is about voodoo and life in Haiti and Jamaica. I think the official word is Vodou, because voodoo is not necessarily a thing. I think it's voodoo, but this is written, I don't know, in the 1950s or something. So we're gonna cut Zora Neale Hurston some slack. I was gonna read this as a second book that for the Blackathon, but I just haven't finished it. So I'm gonna finish it in March. I'm also gonna read The Memory Librarian, which is a collection of short stories written by Janelle Monáe and other writers. Then I'm gonna read The House in the Cerulean Sea. I'm gonna read The House in the Cerulean Sea, which Nat gave to me, but I've never read because I'm a terrible friend. But I'm gonna read it in March. Then I'm gonna read The Green Knight, and I'm gonna take detailed notes so me and Nat can rewatch The Green Knight, A24 movie. So yeah, and then I'm gonna read The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, which is like a cute little graphic novel, I guess you can say, that my sister got me for Christmas. Then I'm gonna read the Donna Yangshin. Me and Natalie might try to do a buddy read on it.
Sounds good.
So we'll see how that goes. And then I'm gonna read Star Wars Ronin, which my brother got me for Christmas. And that's everything I plan to read in March, everything I've read in February, everything I wrote in February. So yeah, I guess that's it. Any parting words, Natalie?
Nothing? No?
Okay, great. All right. So until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.